right in here. What's the one in the back of the head called? Inion. This head comes down and drops off like you're skiing, and it drops off right there. Make sense? Left and right preauricular. Left. Nope, that's right. And left. Okay, I mark those in one color. In particularly, I like blue. The rest of the measurements are all going to be done in a different color. Oh, I wonder how dark this is going to be. Let me see if I can find a darker.
What?
We'll try this one. If you had a pocket, you could put it in your pocket. I don't have a pocket. Okay? That's right, no pockets. So the end of your tape measure is here. Your zero's right here. It's 9:45. Everybody ready? I'm going to put the 0 at this Nasian. I'm going to put my middle finger on that 0. I'm going to stretch my hand. Do you see where my thumb is? I'm going to go all the way back to measure the back. I get 40 centimeters. My first mark is halfway. What's half of 40?
20.
I'm going to make a mark perpendicular with the tape measure at 20. Okay? I'm going to take 10% of that 40 centimeters. What's 10%? 4. I didn't move my hand or the tape measure, did I? I'm going to go up 4 centimeters and I'm going to mark it perpendicular. At the same time, with my tape measure right there, I'm going to use their nose and I'm going to cross it, using that tape measure as a straight edge. In the back, I'm going to go up 10% from that 40. That's easy math. I can mark it at 36. I'm going to use the tape measure as a straight edge and I'm going to cross it. Okay? I've got one measurement here, one measurement here, one measurement here. Okay? Those are 10% from those landmarks, aren't they? So if I have two 10%s, I need 4 20s to make 100, don't I? Make sense? So if I put this 0 at this 10% and I go to this middle and I get 16, what's half of it?
8.
I'm going to mark perpendicular at 8. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my 0 here, go to this, I get 16 and I'm going to mark it at 8. So now I have a 10%, 20, 20, 20, 20, 10%. That makes 100, doesn't it? I'm going to do the same thing. That's anterior to posterior, Nasian to Inian. Now I'm going to put my 0 at this preauricular on the left. I'm going to go behind this measurement that was half. I'm going to go over and I get 37. What's half of 37? Half of 37, anyone? 18 and a half. So I'm going to mark perpendicular. I now have my first measurement that's centered on this head. Who knows what that first measurement is? CZ. C in the central, Z in the middle. I'm going to keep that 18 and a half right there, and I'm going to go up 10%. What's 10% of 37? 3.7. I'm going to go up 3.7. It's kind of hard because this guy's ears are not quite like real human ears are. I went up 10%. I'm going to move my 0 to that 10% and go to the middle, the CZ. I get 15. What's half of 15?
7.5.
7.5. Now it's easier for me to turn my tape measure and go up 10%, 3.7, go from here to here, and mark half. I have two 10%s, and I've got 20, 20, 20, 20. Make sense? front to back, side to side, anterior, posterior. This is transversely going across. The next set of measurements is circumference. What does circumference mean? Around. You all measured neck circumference when we did the history and physical, didn't we? What did you do? You put the tape measure and you measured around the head and you went to the 0 mark and saw how many. Did you do it in inches? Centimeters? Inches. We're going to measure the circumference of this head at these 10% up lines, as if there was a bowl, a skull cap, or a hat on the head. We're not going to drop down to the Nasion or the preauricular or the inion. We're going to stay up on those 10% now. Okay? So I'm going to put my 0 right here, dead center. I'm going to come around and go underneath this one. Do you see how my fingers are spread? I'm going to go underneath the 10% up and all the way around to this 10%. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to mark it. And we get 63.5. Okay? What's half of 63.5? 63.5 would be 31.5. While my tape measures here, I'm going to mark at 30, check 31.5 and see. That's where I made my cross back here when I was doing that measurement. I want to just make sure because I want this distance to be the same as this distance, don't I? So my circumference was 63.5, right? I need 10 equal 10% measurements around the head. I'm going to say it again. 10 equal 10% measurements around the head. At how many centimeters?
6.3.
6.35 maybe? We can go 6.3, okay? So, I want a 6.3 in the front. So if I put my, see my X right here? Can you see that X? At 3.1.5, you with me? And I mark at 6.3 and a little bit more, or just 6.3. And then I'm going to cross it. And I mark at my 0. And I cross it. I have a 10% in the front, don't I? It should be right above their eyeballs. If their eyes are open and they're looking straight, you could use the pupils. Not if they're looking to the right or the left. Does that make sense? 110%, dead center in the front, don't I? Want to do the same thing in the back. Same as I did in the front. So I'm going to go 3.1 between 1 and 2. And I'm going to go 6.3 and 0. I have another 10%, don't I? So I have two 10%. How many more 10% do I need? 8. Najma says 8, or was that you, Najmo? One of you. So that means I need 4 on this side and 4 on that side, don't I? Okay. To get 4, I can put my 0 here, go under this, and over to this, and I get 25. What's half of 25? 12.5. What's half of 12.5? 6 1/4. I'm using this as a straight edge as well as a measurement tool. And do you see how my crosses are all on that same plane? Can you see that, see? Artrina? Can you see that in the back? So now I have two 10%, one in the front and the back, and 4 on this side. I need the same on this side, don't I? So I need 4 more. I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the right. I'm going to put my tape measure at 0. I'm going to go under here, and I'm going to go to the back. This time I get 26. Some of these heads, the way they were fired in the kiln, they're a little more ceramic on one side than the other, okay? What's half of 26? Half of 26, William.
13.
Half of 26, 13. Thank you. I just had to double check because sometimes I'm wrong. So there's, do you see how I'm extending that line, and that's at 13? Now what's half of 13? 6.5, someone said. I'm going to mark it at 6.5. And I'm going to mark it back here at 6.5. Do you see how all these 10 equal measurements are all on that plane as if there was a hat on the head? All the way around, right? They're not down on the Nasian or the Indian. They're all up on this 10% line, aren't they? Okay, we did the front, the back, side to side, and circumference, right? The next thing we're going to do is parasagittals. What does para mean? Half, para half. Half of the sagittal. This is a left sagittal, right sagittal. We're gonna go along this line from here, behind this one, to this one. We're gonna measure that. You're gonna move your tape measure in an arc. Pretend that's a football, and the stitching on the football, you know how it curves? We're gonna pretend that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put the 0 here. We're not gonna pretend that we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. We're gonna put it behind here, and we're gonna go to the back. And I get 28. What's half of 28? 14. This line is already there, so I have an X. What's half of 14? 7. I'm going to make half of this line. And I know that this is 21 because I can do that math in my head. Right? 14 and 7 is 21?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense? This measurement is done. These aren't only half done. Same thing we're going to do on this side. So I'm going to put my 0 here. I keep dropping my pencil. What's half of 28? 14. What's half of 14?
7.
Can you give me another pencil? I broke that one. Right here. I'm using color. No, in the blue thing. Should we get a red one so we're all the same color? I'm just a little anal. What's half of 14, did we say?
7.
We have 7, 14, so this one's going to be at what? 21. So this measurement is done. Except my pencil broke, so it's not as clear. Don't be afraid to make big X's. You need to be able to see that measurement, right? We did the left parasagittal, we did the right parasagittal. We have 2 more measurements left. They're called horseshoes because they kind of look like a horseshoe. They're gonna go from here around.